Welcome back to English Podcast course. Today, we'll practice fun English conversations for.
So, I'll admit it, I'm that person with a fridge full of mysterious containers. Every Sunday I look in there and think, when did I even make that stir fry? It's like a weird time capsule from my own kitchen.
You're definitely not alone. Honestly, I've found containers hidden behind the milk that probably date back to a forgotten meal prep session. My biggest fear is opening something and discovering it's evolved into a science experiment.
I swear, sometimes I expect to find a new mold civilization. But on good days, leftovers save me from making dinner. So it's a gamble worth taking.
Exactly. There's this thrill like, will I get an instant meal, or am I sentencing myself to an hour of scrubbing out Tupperware? Keeps weeknights interesting, that's for sure.
Speaking of instant meals, let's talk about reheating. Because sometimes getting leftovers hot again is a wild adventure in itself. Ever nuked something in the microwave and ended up with 1 part lava, 1 part ice cube?
Oh, every time, especially rice. I once microwaved leftover rice, took a bite, and nearly cracked a tooth. It was still frozen in the middle. The frustration is real.
That's why I started adding a splash of water and covering things with a damp paper towel. It's not foolproof, but at least it doesn't turn last night's pasta into rubber bands.
That little trick has saved me too. Plus, I've started using the stovetop for anything that deserves a second chance: pizza, stir fry, even roasted veggies. The microwave is a gamble, but sometimes I'm just too hungry to wait.
Funny enough, the times I get most excited about leftovers are when I can turn them into a whole new dish. Like leftover roasted chicken becomes tacos, or sad veggies get tossed into a frittata.
Love that. Sometimes I feel like a mad scientist, tossing random bits into a pan and hoping it turns out edible. Yesterday, I turned leftover rice and veggies into fried rice, and it honestly tasted better than the original meal.
There's something so satisfying about rescuing odds and ends before they turn questionable. Plus, it feels like you're cheating the system new dinner, but barely any work.
Totally agree. Also, it saves money and reduces food waste, which always feels like a win. Have you ever had a leftover fusion disaster, though? My lasagna quesadilla is now banned in my house.
That actually reminds me, how do you decide when it's finally time to let leftovers go? I'm never sure if 3 days is okay or if I'm playing fridge roulette.
There's probably a scientific answer, but I mostly go by the sniff test and a little bit of hope. If it smells weird, it's gone. But I always feel guilty throwing food away, even if it looks suspicious.
I've definitely tried to convince myself, no, that's just how curry smells after 4 days, right? But then common sense, or my partner, steps in and saves me from myself.
That's relatable. I like to imagine there's a leftover fairy keeping score every time we toss something out. Eventually, I just have to accept that some meals weren't meant to be eternal.
So, after years of fridge adventures, I've picked up a couple of survival tips. Labeling containers with dates, using clear glass so I can actually see what's inside, and freezing stuff if I know I'll forget it.
Those are lifesavers. I've also started meal planning based around what's already in the fridge before I make new stuff. It's become this little challenge: how many meals can I make without buying anything new?
It's almost like a game, right? And at the end of the week, if the fridge is empty and nothing's gone fuzzy, I feel like I've won. Even the dog looks disappointed. There's nothing weird left to sniff.
That's the dream. Honestly, embracing leftovers has saved me so much time and money, and it makes those surprise what's for dinner moments a lot less stressful. Here's to all the fridge explorers out there.
You know, there's something magical about cooking when it's pouring outside. The sound of rain just makes me want to whip up something cozy in the kitchen.
I totally get what you mean. Whenever it rains, I almost instinctively reach for the soup pot. There's just this built-in comfort to stirring a stew while thunder's rolling around.
Oh, absolutely. And I swear the smell of sautéing onions and garlic somehow gets even better when it's gloomy out. Maybe it's just me romanticizing, but it feels extra inviting.
No, it's not just you. I think the weather sort of amplifies the whole cooking experience. Like the kitchen becomes this warm little island in the middle of a storm.
So, What's your go-to recipe for a rainy afternoon? I'm always torn between baking something sweet and going for a full-on savory meal.
Honestly, I lean towards something that simmers for ages, like chili or a big pot of curry. There's this satisfaction in letting flavors meld while you listen to the rain tapping the windows.
That's such a vibe. Although, I'll admit, sometimes I cave and bake banana bread, just because the whole apartment ends up smelling like a bakery.
Banana bread is a classic. Actually, last month I tried making cinnamon rolls during a downpour, and somehow the process felt almost meditative with that background soundtrack.
That actually reminds me, have you ever had a rainy day cooking plan totally go sideways? Sometimes, those are the best stories.
Oh, for sure. One time I was prepping soup and realized I had zero broth left. Ended up improvising with miso paste and leftover veggie water. And honestly, it turned out better than usual.
See, I love that. I once tried to bake cookies, only to discover I was out of eggs halfway through. Swapped in mashed avocado on a whim. The texture was weird, but not in a bad way.
Honestly, rainy days sort of encourage that kind of kitchen creativity. Maybe it's the lack of motivation to run to the store you just make do and hope for a happy accident.
Speaking of atmosphere, I always end up putting on music while I cook in the rain, like some jazz or acoustic stuff to match the mellow mood.
That's a huge part of it. I'll light a candle or two too. Suddenly, the kitchen feels like a tiny cafe and I'm the chef and the only customer.
Exactly. There's this coziness. You can kind of curate dim lights, favorite playlists, and the rain doing its own percussion outside.
It's a whole vibe. Sometimes, I'll even drag a chair by the window so I can sip whatever I've made and watch the puddles form. Makes the food taste better somehow.
Funny you say that some of my favorite rainy day meals were the ones I shared with friends. There's nothing like inviting someone over when the weather's awful and serving up something hot.
Completely agree, because there's this instant connection over shared warmth and good food. Plus, group cooking turns the whole thing into a little event rather than just another meal.
Absolutely. And people seem more open to hanging around the kitchen and chatting while you cook if it's raining outside. It feels like you're all in your own cozy little bubble.
Yeah, nobody's in a rush to leave either. Rainy days just slow everything down, so you end up savoring not just the food, but the company too.
You know, looking back, some of my most vivid kitchen memories are set against rainy days. Maybe it's the extra effort or just the mood, but they seem to stick in my head.
I feel that too. It's like the weather presses pause on life and suddenly you're completely present, focused on chopping veggies or kneading dough. Those moments linger.
Totally. And it's always the little details, like the fogged up windows or the way the rain smells tied to whatever you made that day.
Exactly. And sometimes just hearing rain now takes me right back to those meals. It's wild how food and weather together make memories so vivid, isn't it?
So, I was thinking about the first time I ever went to a beach. I remember just being overwhelmed by the amount of sand, like, how does it get everywhere so fast? Seriously. I was still finding sand in my shoes a week later.
Finding sand weeks later is almost like a rite of passage. My earliest beach memory is trying to build a sandcastle and ending up with something that looked more like a pile of mashed potatoes. The ocean was just this huge, intimidating thing in the background.
The ocean's size used to freak me out too. I'd run towards the waves, but as soon as they got close, I'd chicken out and dart back. Did you ever try to dig a hole to China? That was my go-to beach activity as a kid.
Every single time, I'd get maybe a foot down before the hole filled with water and my plans for international travel were totally dashed. Just the sound of the waves, though it's weirdly comforting, even when you're drenched and covered in sand.
Thinking about sand everywhere, nothing ruins a sandwich quite like crunchy grains hiding inside. Beach picnics are basically a test of how much sand you're willing to eat for a little bit of sunshine.
Ugh, the worst is biting into watermelon only to realize it's lightly seasoned with sand. But somehow, snacks always taste better outside, even if half your chips blow away in the wind. Why is that?
There's just something about fresh air and salty breeze that turns even the plainest food into gourmet. Or maybe we're just so hungry from all the running around. Did your family ever bring those huge coolers that took 2 people to haul?
Oh, totally. It was like a mini workout before you even made it to the water. And then someone always forgot the bottle opener or the napkins. Classic beach day chaos.
That actually reminds me, did you ever have any run-ins with local wildlife at the beach? One time, a seagull swooped down and stole my entire lunch. It was just gone, like a magic trick.
Seagulls have no shame. Once I watched a whole flock fight over a French fry like it was the last one on Earth. But the weirdest was stepping on a crab hiding under seaweed. I jumped so high I probably set a personal record.
Oof, crabs are sneaky. I've also seen kids run away from jellyfish like they were being chased by monsters. Honestly, the ocean has more plot twists than a soap opera.
No kidding, every trip there's at least one surprise. Sometimes it's dolphins, other times it's realizing you've been sunburned in the shape of your sunglasses.
Speaking of sunburn, why is it that no matter how much sunscreen you use, there's always that one patch you miss? I've had zebra stripes on my back that lasted for weeks.
Sunburn stripes are truly a fashion statement. The weirdest tan line I ever got was from falling asleep with a magazine on my stomach. Woke up with an ad-shaped rectangle on my chest.
That's hilarious. I feel like beach fashion is just whatever you can throw on that keeps the sun off and lets you sprint across hot sand. Ever tried walking barefoot on a noon-hot beach?
It's like a secret Olympic event. I've seen people do wild dances just trying to get to the water. Flip-flops become your best friend real fast.
What surprises me is, even with the sand, sunburns, and snack theft, people keep going back to the beach. There's just something about it that draws us in again and again.
I think it's that mix of chaos and calm, you know? The beach is wild, unpredictable, but also kind of meditative. Even after a long day of chasing lost hats and dodging frisbees, I always feel reset.
Totally. It's almost like the ocean washes away your stress, even if it also leaves you with sandy shoes. Plus, beach days make for some of the best stories.
And honestly, who doesn't love a little sand in their car as a reminder that they squeezed some sunshine and adventure into their week?
So, picture this. You finally arrive at the hotel after a long road trip, and the first thing that hits you is the lobby. Either it's all marble and fancy chandeliers, or it's, a bit more quirky. What's your first move when you walk through those doors?
I almost always make a beeline for that little dish of complimentary mints, not because I need one, but out of pure habit. It's like my version of a hotel welcome ritual. Sometimes the staff gives you a smile that just instantly resets your mood, no matter how tired you are.
Those smiles are everything, honestly. I always notice if they offer to take your bags or just point vaguely at the elevator. Once I stayed somewhere and the concierge greeted me by name, I felt like royalty for about 5 minutes.
That's next-level service. It's wild how those tiny gestures set the entire tone for your stay. After a long haul, just hearing welcome can feel like a little victory. But let's be real, I still panic if I can't spot the check-in desk immediately.
Totally relate. There's always that moment of awkward shuffling at the front desk like, do I hand over my ID first? Or just stand there hoping they'll ask, what's your smoothest check-in move?
I've learned to have my ID and card in hand, but not look like I'm desperately clutching them. There's an art to it, you know? One time, I tried to look casual, but I ended up dropping my passport on the floor and nearly tripped over my own suitcase.
Oh, the suitcase tango. Meanwhile, I'm always secretly hoping for an early check-in. I'll ask with my most charming smile, like I'm auditioning for a toothpaste commercial or something.
Charm definitely helps. I once scored a free room upgrade just because I asked nicely and cracked a joke about my epic travel hair. Sometimes, human connection wins over any loyalty program.
That actually reminds me nothing beats the anticipation when you finally open the door to your hotel room. Every time, there's that tiny bit of suspense. Is the view going to be amazing? Or overlooked by a brick wall?
Honestly, I once got a surprise cityscape view, and it felt like winning the lottery. But then, another time, I opened the curtains and there was just a huge neon sign blinking, "Open 24/7" right outside the window. It felt like sleeping inside a disco ball.
I absolutely relate. The little surprises get me too, like discovering an unexpected stash of fancy toiletries. Or, on the flip side, realizing the TV remote is missing and you're stuck watching whatever channel was left on.
Or worse, realizing your keycard is super moody and takes a dozen tries before the door unlocks. Hotels should give out trophies for patience in those moments. Still, there's something about hotel quirks that makes for the best stories.
Speaking of stories, I love exploring hotel amenities. Some places hype up their rooftop pool like it's the eighth wonder of the world, but half the time, it's just 3 deck chairs and a puddle. Any memorable amenities stand out for you?
One time, I found a secret coffee station behind a bookshelf in the lobby. No sign, just the magical aroma of espresso calling out to me. But I've also seen gyms that look like someone's old garage, 1 treadmill, a yoga mat, and lots of hope.
That's classic. I've stumbled onto complimentary happy hours in the lounge. It's always a gamble. Sometimes it's fancy cocktails. Other times it's just orange juice in wine glasses. I still feel like I scored though.
Free snacks, the great equalizer of hotel life. I think those little surprises, like discovering a basket of cookies at reception, make up for all the times the pool turned out to be more puddle than paradise.
Before we wrap up, can we talk about the drama of checkout morning? Why does packing to leave always take twice as long as unpacking? I swear, socks just vanish into hotel room black holes.
Every single time. My last trip, I spent 10 minutes looking for my charger, only to realize I'd left it still plugged in behind the TV. There's always that little panic, did I forget something important or just my dignity?
And then there's the elevator ride down, balancing a suitcase, phone, and the mysterious extra bag that somehow materialized during your stay. I always mentally list everything I might be leaving behind.
One final sweep of the room is essential, but I still manage to leave something: a toothbrush, a sock, once even my favorite hat. But despite the chaos, there's that little thrill knowing another adventure or comfy bed awaits somewhere else.
So, I don't know about you, but the moment I decide to go on a trip, I get this burst of excitement, and then 3 seconds later, total panic. Like, wait, what should I actually be doing first?
That first rush is so real. I always go from daydreaming about the food and sights to suddenly remembering, oh, there's like a million things to sort out. It's almost like the adventure starts before you even leave your house.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes I even pack a bag in my head before I've booked a ticket. But when it comes to real-life prep, I often get stuck at square one. You ever make a checklist and then lose it immediately?
More times than I want to admit, and then I end up making 3 slightly different checklists and confusing myself further. But honestly, that list-making stage is where you realize just how many little things you need to remember.
Speaking of lists, packing always gets me. I start off with, I'll keep it simple, just essentials. Next thing I know, I'm trying to fit my entire closet into a carry-on.
Same here. I convince myself I'll need 3 pairs of shoes for a weekend trip, and then I never actually wear half of what I bring. It's a weird kind of optimism. Like my vacation self is going to be a whole new person who needs options.
Exactly. I always imagine this glamorous version of me who suddenly cares about matching outfits. Meanwhile, it's just me in my same old sneakers. Do you have any hacks to keep your bag from exploding?
I've started rolling my clothes instead of folding, and don't laugh, I use packing cubes. They're a game changer. Plus, I put out everything I want to bring, then force myself to take out half. It's brutal but effective.
Funny, you mentioned packing cubes organization really is key. And not just for clothes. I'm always paranoid about forgetting my passport or booking confirmations. Double-checking everything has become a weird pre-trip ritual for me.
That's honestly smart. Last time, I nearly left my travel insurance printout on the kitchen counter. I do this thing now where I email myself every important doc, just in case technology or my brain betrays me.
Oh, emailing yourself. Why didn't I think of that? I still have this folder of random papers I panic print the night before. Maybe I should finally join the digital age.
Honestly, a little of both is probably safest. And hey, there's always that moment when you're standing at the gate frantically searching your bag thinking, did I actually pack my ID?
And then comes that final hour before leaving. Are you a last-minute scrambler or one of those chill, suitcase-by-the-door kinds of people?
I wish I could say I'm chill, but if you saw me 3 hours before a flight, it's pure chaos, frantic laundry, triple-checking chargers, and my cat trying to climb into my suitcase for good measure.
That's way too relatable. I always have this grand plan to leave early, and then I'm running around in mismatched socks, yelling, "Where's my toothbrush?"
Honestly, forgetting a toothbrush feels inevitable at this point. I think part of travel prep is just accepting there'll be one thing you forget and hoping it's not something crucial like your wallet.
After all the list-making, overpacking, and last-minute panic, I feel like the moment I lock the door and actually leave is the most freeing thing ever. It's like, whatever happens now, I'm on my way.
That's the best part. There's this mix of nervousness and excitement, but mostly relief. Even if you forgot your toothbrush, there's a weird satisfaction in just going and letting the adventure begin.
Totally. Suddenly, all the stress melts away, and it's just you and the road. And maybe a slightly overstuffed backpack, but that's part of the fun, right?
Absolutely. Half the stories from any trip come from those little things you didn't plan for. If you ask me, the mishaps are what make the journey memorable.
So yesterday I was taking out the recycling, and who do I see hauling boxes across the street? A total stranger with neon green sneakers and a cactus twice his size. That's when I realized we've got ourselves a new neighbor.
Oh wow, neon green sneakers? That's a bold entrance. I actually caught a glimpse of him too, wrestling with a lamp that looked more like modern art than anything practical. Gave me flashbacks to my own move-in debacles.
Right? There's something about those first moments. Do you say hi, or do you play it cool and peek through the blinds? I swear, I almost tripped over my own feet just trying to look casual.
Honestly, I get so awkward in those situations. Part of me wants to run over with cookies, but then I remember the time I accidentally gave someone gluten when they were super allergic. Still haunted by that.
That reminds me, I did end up saying a quick hello. It was one of those half-wave, half-smile things where you're not sure if they even noticed you.
I've totally been there sometimes. I just blurt out something weird, like complimenting their moving boxes. Last time, I called someone's tape dispenser elegant and immediately wanted the ground to swallow me.
Ha! Well, you've got to break the ice somehow. I once introduced myself to a neighbor's goldfish before I met the neighbor. Priorities, right?
That's actually kind of endearing. I guess there's no perfect script for these moments. It's all about reading the vibe, or at least pretending you can.
So, naturally, everyone started speculating, where's he from? Is he a plant person or just into sharp decor? And what's with the box labeled experimental jams I saw him carrying?
Wait, experimental jams? That's either super hipster or he moonlights as a mad food scientist. My money's on the latter, especially after the lava lamp incident I witnessed through my window.
Oh, please. If he brings over homemade jam with names I can't pronounce, I'm both 100% in and slightly terrified. Small towns thrive on this kind of mystery, don't they?
Absolutely. The whole street's probably got a group chat blowing up with wild theories already. It's like a mini-series, but with real people and questionable footwear choices.
You know, with all the curiosity, I'm debating if I should try the classic welcome gift thing. Cookies feel traditional, but what if he's gluten-free? Or worse, anti-cookie?
I've actually switched to houseplants as my go-to. Less risk, and if they die, nobody's feelings get hurt. Though last time, my indestructible succulent lasted 3 days in my neighbor's care.
That's a fair point. Maybe I'll just go over and ask what he likes. Or, send a carrier pigeon with a survey real subtle.
Honestly, even a simple note works. Once, I left a cheesy welcome card taped to someone's door, and 2 years later, they still bring it up. Sometimes awkward is memorable.
Thinking about it, first impressions are fun, but it's really what happens in the next few weeks that matters. Random chats by the mailbox, borrowing a cup of sugar, all those sitcom moments.
Exactly. The real test is if you can talk about the weather and not want to run away. Plus, you never know, maybe the neon sneakers guy turns out to be the life of the block party.
I hope so. I'm ready for some news stories. Or, at the very least, some experimental jam with a side of neighborly weirdness.
Here's to welcoming the unexpected and whoever shows up next, cactus in tow. I'm just glad our neighborhood never stays boring for long.
Thanks you and see you next time.